organizing the PR Congress here in Prague together with our Slovak colleagues. And as you see, you are really welcome here because also the weather is extraordinary here. So I don't want to waste your time, so I would like to ask Judy to start our first presentation.
Thank you, Veronica. You know, I think I have the best job in the world because my job is to share all your remarkable stories, the great work of our partners around the world eliminating high-risk roads. So today I'm here to share with you some best practice examples of your work, and obviously I could talk all week. So I'm going to focus on a particular thing, which is iRAP partnerships, because they really tell the beautiful story of what is possible when we bring our hearts to the table, we connect passion with purpose, and we work together to save this problem that we all get up every day to solve, which is reducing road trauma around the world. So across the world, 29,000 partners in 128 countries have now assessed more than 3 million kilometres of roads for their safety. And that work is now informing $100 billion of road infrastructure investment. 63,000 people have been trained. These people are now empowered and working very independently from the iRAP team to implement the iRAP methodology, the tools and trainings to make their roads safer. And I love that every day I wake up to my desk and there's some new story of something you guys are doing that I had no idea about. We no longer really have an easy touch on what you're all up to. It's wonderful. So our Charities 2030 strategy is Partnerships for Impact. And it really reflects what we know to be true, which is none of us can walk this journey alone. None of us can save a life without coming to the table together with the tools and training and the data that we have, getting it to the decision makers and to the roadsides where it is needed the most. I'd like to share with you a couple of the programs that are doing some really great things. And before I do, just to share with you really what we say comes together in a high impact road assessment program. And that is program leadership with governance, assessments, policy, capacity building investment, implementation with oversight, comms and advocacy, and of course that measurement of success. So to begin with Tanzania, the TANRAP program was launched this year, and it was the very first country in the world to implement the UNRSC 10-step approach for safer road infrastructure. And it's a real success story we can be very, very proud of. The 30-month project was made possible thanks to funding from the UN Road Safety Fund and UK aid, with that being delivered through the Global Road Safety Facility. It really was an outcome of many, many partners, as you can see. Sorry, moved a slide there. And across the board there, we have a whole consortium of partners, the UN Economic Commission for Africa, and leading that consortium was the International Road Federation, and iRAP, PIARC, and the Tanzania Roads Association. The project brought together the government of Tanzania through the Ministry of Works and Transport and also a number of local agencies, as you can see. You can also see their achievements in rapid time. So a new national training and accreditation scheme that saw 500 people trained very quickly, and it catapulted Tanzania to being second in the world for the highest number of iRAP accredited practitioners. They also made recommendations for revisions to the design manual and to the National Road Safety Strategy, and they expanded the iRAP data across 10,000 kilometres of their network. TANRAP really shows us what is possible, implementing that 10-step approach, and really, especially when we bring national and international partners together in such a high-impact way. Next is TIRAP, and of course we've just heard a little bit about the Bangkok Metropolitan Association. So TIRAP is another program doing great things, led by Kasim and the Chulalongkorn University team. Something interesting from a global perspective about TIRAP is there was initially some reticence from the government to implement iRAP. They were already doing really great things. They had invested heavily in audits and capacity, and really what was important was that we worked together with the university to build that trust and to really weave iRAP into the existing great work they were doing. It wasn't about revolutionising what they were doing, it was simply about adding value where that was merited. You can see here iRAP's metrics in the numbers, very impressive, but right now, by the end of this year, you can see the Department of National Highways will have star-rated the entire 52,000 kilometre network and 500 kilometres of assessments in Bangkok. iRAP has supported the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, as you saw, with that training and for the 50 districts and the star ratings and Safer Roads investment plans for their upgrades. 2 Thai motorways have been assessed for the very first time, and they have a new roads policy to achieve 3-star or better. So there's much to learn from iRAP's example. You're going to hear more from Jeff Allen about OzRAP, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but I equally want to really draw your attention to this really great program, which has been running for over 20 years. So you can see hundreds of thousands of kilometres of assessments have informed $19.2 billion of Safer Roads investment. 14 policies from national through to the states include iRAP as a safety metric for their infrastructure, and they've trained thousands of people. What's interesting from a global perspective about OzRAP is it was initially a program led by the Automobile Association, the AAA, and it very much had a consumer-led advocacy focus. But 2 years ago, recognising that OzRAP was widely being used by all the road agencies at a state and federal level, they transitioned that leadership across to Austroads. And just 2 weeks ago, Austroads launched their strategy and business plan to take the program now through into the future. At the heart of that is that all Australian states and territories will now publish their OzRAP star ratings on all arterial roads by 2025. And it sets 14 key targets, or 12 targets, that will support them together as a consortium of many partners in Australia to achieve their national target of more than 80% of travel on 3-star or better roads. I really like their star values there that you can see. So bringing all of those partners together united, really what they're looking at is making sure safety culture is the priority, that there's transparency in monitoring, reviewing, and resetting if need be, that they align together in a very coordinated way in their delivery and coordination, and that reputation is paramount, that they're very much committed to that public reporting. Now, take you back to Brazil. Can't skip them, they've just won the award. You can see we've heard a bit about them already, and they tick all the boxes of those things that we said make an effective road assessment program. So everything from that large-scale assessments that is now influencing the safety of $8 billion of road infrastructure investment, thousands of people trained, 3 policies that include iRAP KPIs, and part of that is the MIN for a 5-year agenda for road safety on highways, so very much a long-term policy-driven commitment. The results dashboard that Rob spoke about, that's really innovative in that it's their star ratings shown alongside the crash data for the country. It's not just about the project teams working on that, it's anybody in the country, anybody in the world can have a look at that dashboard and really see what the data is doing to inform their work. So that concept of monitoring and reporting is very much integral to that step they've done in publishing that in a very public dashboard. And in a comms and advocacy sense, they have also partnered with Rotavias and Vias, which is the national infrastructure magazine, to keep reporting on the work that's happening, again, making sure there's that national alignment. And lastly, star rating for schools. So if you're not aware of star rating for schools, it is a tool, evidence-based tool for communicating and measuring the safety of children on their journey to school. iRAP launched the program, but it's now thriving in the hands of partners, thousands of them, across 67 countries. More than 1,200 schools have been assessed, and 286 road upgrades have had post-construction star ratings on them, and you'll get to see that dashboard later in the program. So again, it's about analysing and celebrating those results. Star rating for schools has really shown that power of partnerships. You can see across the top the partners that have made it possible. So from FedEx and FIA Foundation as founding and major donors, through to the global program partners that came on board, 3M and Prudence, and then all of those amazing NGOs who came on as lead delivery partners and who are now also supporting that massive network across the world of partners. So what that has made possible is the training of more than 5,500 people worldwide that are empowered and now using that program very independently to inspire $3.7 million of investment in safer school journeys. And that has made safer the journeys of more than 400,000 kids around the world, which is really incredible. The development in the app and program is very much evidence-based, informed by research, and we have recently updated the iRAP pedestrian model based on that feedback we had from lead partners and all the partners using the app to make sure that it was reflecting the most accurate startings possible and that it really was aligned to the practical experience of people on the ground. You might have heard, I think, from Rob earlier that Google has recently announced a $2 million grant to iRAP for a artificial intelligence program for starting for schools to make journeys safer across Vietnam. It has global implications, a very exciting program with AIP Foundation and DD, and also University of Zagreb, FPZ and FER. What I love about this is we were just one of 15 humanitarian crises, if you like, that Google prioritized. And I think that really reflects the understanding that the future is our children and the enormous need for us to protect them, and the real understanding of the benefit of this program to make a real difference. So I'm going to leave the stage now and hand over, but please follow the journey of all of your work and learn from each other. So we have our social media and also our newsletter, so link up to that, and we'd really love to keep reporting on your great work. Thanks.
Thank you, Judy, for your very interesting presentation, which shows that the research results can really work in practice. And now I would like to invite Juan Bosco Marti from the Eleatica organization, and he will show us how to make roads safer and with a higher number of sections with 3 stars.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to iRAP, and particularly to Rob and to Judy, that have given me this opportunity to be here today in this beautiful location. You couldn't have chosen a better room for this discussion. This magnificent view of Prague, but at the same time a very cozy place. Thank you very much. So let's put this up. So first of all, it's a great honor for me to share the panel with such distinguished speakers, from which I expect to learn much more than what I could share with you today. I really appreciate the opportunity. We are here to address an issue of great importance. How can we ensure safer roads for people and the planet? How to build safer roads in keeping with the 3rd Sustainable Development Goal and have 3-star or higher roads according to the classification of iRAP, our host this afternoon, with whom we have been collaborating for some time and to whom I'm particularly grateful for the invitation. My main objective is to convey a crucial message. It is imperative that we make the right decisions that can save lives. At Eleatica, our objective is to offer our customers a model of intelligent, safe, and sustainable mobility to benefit our community and contribute to the 2nd decade of action for road safety through SDG 3.6 to reduce by 50% the number of deaths and injuries caused by road traffic accidents by 2030. Eleatica has a unique geographic footprint with presence in 7 countries. We're in Europe and America, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Chile, the UK, Spain, and Italy. We currently operate 20 concessions, 16 highways, 2 ports, 1 light rail, and 1 airport, and a total of more than 1,156 kilometers and 366 million vehicles that circulate through our roads every year. Furthermore, a year ago, we created the Aleatica Foundation for Road Safety, a nonprofit organization that seeks to produce tangible improvements to contribute to make the right to safe mobility a reality for everyone. At Aleatica Foundation for Road Safety, we believe that safer roads should be a fundamental human right. When taking a trip, we should have a reasonable expectations for arriving safely at our destination without risking our lives or that of others. We must ensure that road safety is at the center of the public discussion, and our industry. People must be our top priority. We have to view it as the pandemic it is, as a global phenomenon that affects more than 1.3 million people who lose their lives each year. We need to work together in a coordinated manner among countries to the private sector, public sector, and civil society. We cannot forget that this phenomenon also has a very tangible impact on our economies. According to the World Health Organization, estimates the global economic cost of traffic events are as high as 3% of gross world product. Imagine what we could do if those resources were invested in education, improved health systems, and social programs. In fact, in low-income and emerging countries, traffic accidents are an impediment to economic growth. It affects mainly the productive working age group and children, with a direct repercussion for families with few resources, given that losing the productive ability to their head of the household leads to additional poverty, aggravated by the fact that the descendants are unable to continue academic training that would enable them to climb the economic pyramid and perpetuating the differences. That fact speaks to the question of when immediate intervention is most necessary. We need to put special efforts in Latin America, and even the United Nations has indicated that course. And you may wonder, why should we be here in Europe paying attention to other part of the world, such as Latin America, that is so far? Well, we obviously live in a global economy in which malfunctions that occur in some places affect others. We recently experimented that throughout the pandemic, and we cannot think about the sustainable growth of some countries at the expense of others, since economic instability in low-income countries can negatively affect global stability. Besides, and precisely because of this movement of people that trade involves, to which we must add tourism, a major industry that is extremely important in many developing countries, increasing road safety with them means doing it for our own citizens when they travel. And all of that without considering ethical and moral values, as we should have done to begin with. We can thus clearly state that reasons abound. Consequently, I want to zoom into Mexico, where we have launched our actions with the Aleatica Foundation for Road Safety. 42 people die in Mexico every day due to traffic accident. In other words, someone loses their lives every 30 minutes due to a vehicle accident. This makes Mexico one of the 5 countries in Latin America with the most deaths at a rate of 13 per 100,000 inhabitants. Comparing these figures to Europe, we find that Mexico has an accident count that is nearly 4 times higher for every 100,000 inhabitants. Well, in Mexico is 13, Spain is 3.91, the UK 3.2, and Australia 4.7. Reaching levels similar to Europe will save 14,000 lives per year just in Mexico. To prevent those deaths, we're working on the Accident Reduction Program, which is a safety plan designed by Aleatica from our Safety First plan to reduce road accidents. We're investing in that program in 4 years, more than 130 million euros. And in just 2 years of operation, it has managed to reduce involving injuries by 16% and fatalities by 14%. Within the next 3 years, we will invest 95 million euros in safety so that our roads and highways are the forefront, because we're very serious about the pillar guiding our long-range action. Safety is first. The core actions at Aliatica Foundation are based on the safe system approach and focus on 3 fundamental topics: safe infrastructure, safe vehicles, and safe mobility users. Aliatica Foundation is working on 3 aspects. First of all, training and awareness. We recently hosted a webinar with a journalist to inform them about iRAP methodology, as well as a seminar with more than 350 police officers from state and local level to give them the best tools in terms of road safety and share with them some of the best practices. We're also working with multi-sectoral promotion efforts, and we're encouraging technological initiatives to mitigate the problem. We created the first national profiles to locate the highest mortality and accident rates in Mexico. We're very proud and grateful, especially to iRAP and to Rob McInerney, for accepting to be part of our advisory council since the inception, since the beginning of the Aliatica Foundation. It's been a true honor and a nice North Star that guides our way we should be doing things every day, with the purpose of saving lives. Our joint efforts encompass several areas: promotion efforts with key stakeholders to drive demand for road safety standards aligned with the World Road Safety Targets 3 and 4, development of research, innovation, and platforms to support industry, adaptation of best practices for the design, construction, and operation of safer roads, personnel training, and support to establish and implement a local Mexico iRAP program that we hope it would be launched pretty soon. Aliatica's road concessions have received and continue receiving iRAP assessment to guarantee safety. That includes highway inspections, development of their star rating system, risk maps, and investment plans for safer roads, training, technology, and support for autonomous national, regional, and local development, performance follow-up to evaluate investment benefits. Thanks to iRAP recommendations, we have been able to improve our roads to reduce accidents and have elements that forgive human mistakes, such as road contention system, impact absorption barriers, and many others that help on the reduction of indices. Also these systems that help vehicle braking and redirects in the case of impact. We recently designed the first highway in Mexico before being constructed based on the iRAP methodology. This is the Atizapán-Atlacomulco highway that we should begin works very soon. It's going to be a 77-kilometer highway that would unite Mexico City with a highway that connects with Guadalajara and Morelia. It would save more than 1 hour, in terms of transport between each point, and it will be also an alternate route to one of our main highways, that is Mexico-Querétaro, that is already collapsed due to traffic. This ongoing effort means that we can now proudly state that our concessions have at least 3.5 stars. We're working to achieve 5 stars for everyone, given that iRAP holds that rising the standard of the world's roads to 3 stars or more is critical to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of having the number of deaths and injuries by roads decrease by 50% by 2030. We will not stop there. We want to replicate these experiments in the other countries where we operate. We want to learn from our mistakes to improve and assure success. One of the values that Adriatica Foundation for Road Safety tries to promote is the generation of knowledge, which I hope to have the opportunity to explain in depth in another occasion. I will just say that it focuses on on the use of various methodologies to generate know-how, consistently applying the scientific method, thus based on objectivity and relying on high-regarded experts that are part of our advisory council, such as Professor Francisco Alonso from the INTRAS at the University of Valencia. Indeed, there is a lot to be done and many people to join in, so we are aware that this is just the beginning. Safer roads are not only a government and corporate responsibility, it should be an obligation shared by all citizens and every nation to protect human lives. So together we can build a future which everyone can take a trip with certainty of arriving at their destination safely, because as we said at Adriatica Foundation, we are all road safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juan, for your presentation. We really appreciate if a private company is so involved in road safety. I would like directly to invite Johannes Abebe with his presentation, which also show us some opportunities to spur private sector participation.
Thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for invitation, Rob and Judy, for coordinating my presence here. My name is Johannes Abebe. I am the Global Practice Lead for Transport and what vertical structures we call schools and health facilities in the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is a US agency, sort of a sister agency of US Agency for International Development, USAID, that was established about 20 years ago. And my time in MCC is about 20 years, so I have sort of grown with the organization. We basically work in low and lower middle income countries. Our partners are carefully selected by evaluating certain sets of criteria that ranges from good governance to political freedom, etc. And so we have worked now over 40 countries, invested over $7 billion in development, and out of the $70 billion, I would say 75% of it is on infrastructure. On road alone, we have invested over $5 to $6 billion in the last 19 years or so since I joined the organization, and basically in upgrading and rehabilitating roads, but at the same time also to ensure sustainability on maintenance. And we'll come back to the word maintenance a little later as to how it will provide some framework for PPP. And
To show your slides.
oh yeah, I thought I didn't. I thought it clicked by itself and everything is this automatic, so sorry about that. So this is just introductory anyways. So our partnership with iRAP goes back with Rob and I see Greg as well, Smith here, almost 15 years. Okay, I was actually present at the first United Nations road safety action thing in Moscow, I remember. And for the last 15 years, our partnership between MCC and iRAP has really done quite a lot of work together. I'm proud of that. As a matter of fact, road safety, the iRAP road safety, process has made its way into our road development and implementation guidelines, where every single kilometer of road that we invest in, we try to incorporate an iRAP assessment process. We have worked together in the Philippines, in Moldova, in Nepal, Senegal, and the list goes on. Moldova, which by the way was recently evaluated, and their star rating in terms of road safety, reducing fatalities and accidents have been very impressive, and I'll share that with you at some point. So our partnership continues, and we recently actually had a partnership agreement, we call sole source agreement, with iRAP to support us for a period of time in terms of some of the new countries that we'll be investing in roads in. And some of the work that iRAP will support us, as you can see, includes in star ratings and investment planning assessments, and star rating of schools, which I'm very, very proud, by the way, because we just completed an iRAP school assessment in Morocco, and that was very, very, very fruitful, I would say. Okay, capacity building and training is also part of our agreement. Technical assistance, as well as also establishing local self-governing road assessment program is part of the program, our agreement. But above all, I think we are also starting to kind of contemplate and think about working together in terms of the whole, potential private sector investment, partnership in road safety in some selected countries. So we are at the initial stages of that, and I will give you a little report on a most recent mission that our group had done in Zambia regarding that in the later slides. Yeah, I don't want to, just a very limited time, so I don't want to get into details of the some of the range of services that iRAP is providing for us currently. As I mentioned, the star rating for schools is a really impressive one that we will continue to explore in other countries. As I said before, we also invest a lot on schools in terms of building new ones, rehabilitating old ones, and the fact that now iRAP comes in and is helping us to do the safety for the children around the school areas are going to be my focus, at least coming, moving forward. And others, the establishing of a local self-governing RAP is also another area where we are working, together, and then the idea is also to work on priority countries, namely Indonesia, Malawi, and Morocco. And I would add Zambia as well in the list, so that's something that we are working towards. So going back to I want to spend a little time on what we are thinking about in terms of potentially bringing private sector in funding road safety. Recently, I will take the Zambia case. Like I said, recently, MCC mission went to Zambia, in exploring potential MCC's support in the road sector that we are currently working on. We are designing a program that probably will invest in approximately $300 to $350 million in road development in Zambia, looking at all the road networks. We are in the process of prioritizing which roads to invest in. And as we've been discussing with iRAP on a number of times, is how can we bring potential private sector into play here? And our group went out there and spoke with a few stakeholders, namely one of the major stakeholders are the insurance regulators in Zambia, which brought in some of the auto insurance companies into the discussion. And the critical thing we found out was, as I said earlier, one of the emphasis in our investment is road maintenance. There's no point in building roads left and right and not have a sustainable, systematic road maintenance investments in the country. And typically, we actually put in hard money to do road maintenance. When we do road maintenance, we have to also address road safety. Okay. Obviously, on the newer roads or the ones that we rehabilitate, we will, as I said before, use iRAP, road safety assessment process, identify the potential black spots, and through the design process, mitigate them, and then hopefully improve the star rating when we build the construction. But we never looked at road maintenance, particularly in terms of potentially integrating road safety in there, okay? And essentially try to save lives. And so the insurance companies were very keen, about that, because they see potentially, improvements road safety would definitely decrease potentially the, accidents and expenses to them, as you can imagine. So they were very enthusiastic and very supportive of the idea. And so as part of the Zambia Road Development Program, what we plan to do is discuss further potentially increasing the insurance premiums on auto insurances to raise money to directly link it to the benefits that may be accrued as a result of road safety improvements. I know raising a premium could be a bit controversial, but nevertheless, that's something that they suggested that they can look into. To leverage MCC money, in other words, since we actually give direct investment in road maintenance, see how potentially other folks, including the insurers and other impact investors, could contribute to that road maintenance fund that we typically set up, and so that we have a much better pool of money to be able to invest in road safety aspects. And the third, which we have actually seen working to some extent in Niger, is we typically now have sort of a design, build, operate, and maintain construction scheme in some of the roads. So what we did in the case of Niger was we made a deal with the contractor to include, to take on the road maintenance aspect of it, but also included road safety aspects in it, so that there is actually, the KIP, is included in our contract, that they will be able to maintain the road to a certain road standard, and we will be able to support some of the funding as well. So create a partnership with that. So those three areas are the ones that we are exploring moving forward in Zambia, and hopefully in some of the priority countries that you're going to be dealing with in Malawi, which is coming up, Mozambique, as well as also possibly Indonesia. So basically, we have a working, good, constructive relationship with the iRAP, and we hope we continue to work on it, especially exploring these PPP ideas moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Johannes, for interesting practice, presentation full of practice. And now I would like to ask Martin Hartmann with his presentation, which is more technological.
Start it. Tato Pečko. Okay, thanks for Veronica for the word. Hi everyone, my name is Martin Hartmann. I am representing the company Aimson on this stage, and well, I'm actually living in this beautiful city of Prague, which has got a lot of praise these days, and I'm fond of cycling very much. I'm taking this path to work along the river today, so if you need anyone to bring empirical evidence to your cycle rep studies, please let me know. But let's get down to business here, and one of the innovation topics today is the Phoebe project, which we as Aimson are part of, and Monica and Pedro introduced this, I think, on Tuesday, the project very much, so I will be a little bit more, let's say, technical about what is the power of traffic simulation, how the virtual world can support you, and this iRAP safety rankings around the world. So we are pretty new to the safety community here with Aimson. I'd like to spend a few moments just briefly describing the company. We are based in Barcelona. We are a company developing software to build simulations and traffic models, and also to build the models themselves. We do it already for quite some time, and we are involved in quite a few research projects, as you can see. So essentially, we are data scientists, we are developers, we are traffic flow specialists, modelers, mathematicians. So what is the Aimson modeling framework, and how does it fit into the safety assessment? We call this an integrated modeling framework because essentially we can display transport as a phenomenon on different levels, from what we call a microscopic level, that's very, let's say, detailed vehicle, pedestrian, cyclist-based, let's say, vehicle model, through something called mesoscopic, which is somewhere between, still individual vehicles, but on a larger scale, all the way down to macroscopic level, entire cities, regions, or even countries. This framework simulates, let's say, each individual actor or an aggregated flow, and gives much realism to the traffic flow patterns we observe every day. And this is truly a complex pattern that we can see. We have behavior models, we have route decision models, we have mode choice models. We have to replicate all those behaviors of us in our daily traffic patterns to be able to construct a realistic picture of the world. It is a multimodal simulator, and this has not always been the case, because these models have been traditionally built around vehicle traffic. The origin of these models come from the 90s, where big OEMs ask themselves, can we have traffic simulators that will support our vehicle development processes, test their capabilities, traffic performance of cities, as well as the traffic planning. Engineers have asked them, how does a new junction impact traffic performance? And over time, as requests came from cities, from agencies, we need to also bring the multimodality, we need to bring vulnerable road users into the game. We have enhanced these models by behavioral models for vulnerable road users. They are not by far perfect. We are still working on this. We are adding details, we are adding formulas, algorithms, and Phoebe is one of the projects where we will benefit out of this, or where we will enhance even further these developments. So performance has been traditionally the focus of these models, and now we also need to enlarge this for traffic safety, because we not only care about performance, we do also, of course, care about safety much, and so we need to enhance these software tools. And this is one of the goals also for Phoebe. to also bridge the gap between the current state of the softwares around the world, and the project is going to be software agnostic, not only AIMSON based, but it's generally going to open the tool chains for any other software, but in general enhancing those softwares for safety elements. So how can simulation enhance the risk assessment? Basically, the plan is, what we are going to do in the next couple of months and years, is to bring the iRAP safety score into a virtual environment. Why? Because this will enable us to look on, let's say, current transportation systems and sort of predict the impact of any change in the system. Should the change be in terms of road geometry? Should it be in change of behavior? Should it be in terms of, let's say, modal shifts when our users change traffic mode? Or should there be an induced demand because we have improved the road geometry, there is more capacity, for example, how does it impact traffic demand, etc. So we are basically building a harness, a software harness, where you can apply changes and see those impacts before you actually do them in the reality. So this is the virtual test bed, so to say. And nice feature of this AIMSON model is that you can start locally on a small area, on a corridor, based on vehicle trajectories, pedestrian trajectories, bicycle, e-scooter trajectories. You can try to find risk factors and the level of safety, and then extrapolate on other portions of the network where your model is. So sort of scale the assessment from local to global. And how is this done in particular, in detail? Those of you that might have spent some time with traffic flow simulators, you might object, careful, traffic simulators are, as I said, designed for traffic performance. Per se, they are not having any crashes. They are not designed to reproduce the cause and effect between a driver unattentiveness and combination of bad weather and a pothole leading to a swerving maneuver, and then there is an accident. To explicitly do this, you need, a lot of effort, incredibly good data, calibration data. We know these are very rare events. These are sort of the long tail of distributions, and this is difficult. So that's why we borrowed the idea from Federal Highway Administration in the US, which has developed so-called surrogate safety assessment model, which I assume most of you are familiar with, where looking at empirical naturalistic driving trajectories, you try to sort of raise the level of abstraction, and by looking on near collisions, which you describe by a few of these parameters down there, time to collision, post-encroachment time, acceleration rates, you try to sort of extract risk level of risks, and point on hotspots. So in this virtual world, we will exchange the naturalistic trajectories for virtual simulation-based trajectories, and do this safety assessment using this surrogate safety model. You may say, okay, are your behavior models good enough at the moment? Can you do that? And the answer is no, they are not. That's why we have partners from academia, we have partners from TU Delft, TU Munich, and other universities, which are helping us with raising the level of the behavior models for pedestrians, for bicycles, for vehicles. They will be imported, integrated in the database or in the data model of AIMSON, and they will be enhancing the realism of those trajectories which are simulated. And after the use of this surrogate safety model, we have indicators of risk assessment, of risk level of risk. So I'm coming to my the end of my presentation, slowly but surely. So the integration of the iRAP safety score in AIMSON will basically ensure that we are aligned with the methodology with iRAP. The technical teams are right now dealing with this first task because not everything is perfectly aligned. We have different segmentation of the road networks in iRAP's methodology, and in AIMSON, this might be even location specific. So the technical teams are now developing methodology how to bring these two worlds together. These behavior model is going to be improved in this innovation project. We have the surrogate safety model applied on this. On the other hand, having these digital twins or these traffic models of different parts of the road network enables us to provide some extra inputs for maybe a modified iRAP safety score, because our models are not only based on the daily traffic, but they are respecting the traffic flow and 15 minutes demands and the peak times. So this can be some additional inputs that you can consider in your modeling and in your safety assessments. And at the end of the day, we do model different road users, so we can also provide those outputs, those assessments per user type. Yeah, so the end goal is to provide a predictive harness, predictive tool chain, what if analysis, what happens if I change certain elements of the traffic system, and how does it affect road safety. This will be done on 3 use cases in Athens, Valencia, and West Midlands, where we currently have our models in operation, so there's a very low starting burden to get going. The models are there, so basically we start on the microscopic level, on the trajectory of individual road users. We apply change to the scenario, and then we can extrapolate to a model which is on the macroscopic, on the global level, and come up with some numbers. To conclude, this project is highly innovative. It brings the gap between traffic simulation and safety analysis. I think there's a nice consortium of academia and practitioners. We will enhance the capabilities of the software tools. We will provide additional inputs to the iRAP safety indicators. We have a safe testing environment that you can iteratively use to test different options by testing your learning. So we hope also for getting the knowledge base expanded, and we are really, appreciating that the scalability of this can bring the assessment by sort of automation of these steps into a more quick and robust assessment frame. That would be my conclusions, and yeah, if you have questions, maybe at the end or afterwards, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Martin, for your for the deep view into your methodology. And now I would like to invite Jeff Allen, the CEO of Austroads, to show out their experience in Australia.
Thank you very much. And given the time this afternoon, I will aim to be brief. Okay, they're showing up. Fantastic. Next slide. So firstly, who is Austroads and what do we do? In essence, Austroads is the Association of Australian and New Zealand Roads and Transport Agencies. So for those of you who are from Europe, we're effectively a combination of CEDA and eReg and UCARIS. Or for those of you from the Americas, we're more similar to a combination of AASHTO and AMVA. But like most organisations that work across a federation, we do have our challenges about aligning practices. But the good thing is with Australia and New Zealand sometimes, we do speak the same language. So to give some context, Australia is a big country, larger than Europe, with a population about 1/14 that of Europe. So we have our challenges. Lots of long stretches of roads, 6 states, 2 territories that again have their own priorities. But a huge interior desert, but with long stretches of road, with most of the population focused in the southeast corner. And in terms of our fatalities, Australia has about, and it's plateaued at this level for about the last 8 years, around about 1,100 deaths every year. And what we have is an increasing rate of serious injuries. It's now up to about 37,000 serious injuries per year. So whilst deaths have remained relatively static for 8 years, the number of serious injuries has gone up, which equates to about 4.4 per 100,000 population. And how does that compare to other parts of the world? Well, to the UK, substantially better, 1/3 less fatalities. And you compare us to Norway, we're nearly 3 times as many fatalities as Norway. Now, the challenge in Australia, when you look at that, Australia is not unlike Norway in that it has a large area with urban populations. But unlike Norway, like Norway, our fatalities and serious injuries in the cities are around about comparable, but significantly higher proportion of deaths and serious injuries on our rural roads. So as Judy indicated before, and I will just run through this slide quite quickly, iRAP was started in the late 1990s by the auto clubs, and there was a lot of angst between the auto clubs and the state and territory governments that administered roads because they were seen as being beaten up by the auto clubs for not delivering on high standard roads. And there was certainly some resentment from state and territory governments to that approach from the Automobile Association. So to try and rectify some of that anguish, there was a memorandum of understanding signed between the various organisations, including Austroads, to make sure there was a better understanding of the use of iRAP by those agencies. And as Judy had indicated before, in 2021 we signed an agreement to shift the leadership of iRAP in Australia from the Automobile Association to Austroads, the Federation of State and Territory Roads Agencies, and we've delivered a business plan that aims to implement iRAP across Australia. Now, I'm just going to focus on two of the steps that were outlined in the 10 steps for iRAP, and that is around leadership in government and investment. So clearly, Austroads has taken a lead role in promoting iRAP, and it has found its way into Australia's National Road Safety Strategy, whereas there is a commitment by governments to achieve, and I'll go to the next slide, to have the share of travel on national highways on a high-speed network of 80% recognised as being 3-star or equivalent rating. So this is a commitment by the government. And as Judy has indicated, and this is not by the Commonwealth Government alone, it is by all state and territory governments. And as Judy indicated earlier, having ownership transferring from the Automobile Associations to the Association of State and Territory Agencies, we are promoting the transparency. So all state and territory governments have agreed to publish their star rating data by 2025 and continually work to improve that data. So our goal at Austroads is obviously to promote this leadership, and we're going through a governance journey, so picking up on that. But again, by 2030, having at least 80% of travel on 3-star roads or better in Australia. And to support that, the Commonwealth Government, that's the Australian National Government, has established a road safety fund, which is 34 billion Australian dollars. And I see on your slide, Judy, it was 19 billion US dollars. You appreciate how much the Aussie dollar has slid in comparison when you see it that way. But even though you probably can't see the detail there are some examples of where the Commonwealth Government is spending its money over the next 4 years to improve the road safety, the safety of roads around Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for your experience. And now I would like to introduce Monika Olislagers with her presentation about the use of methodologies and tools of iRAP for cities.
Thank you very much. I do realise it's getting quite late in the afternoon, so I'll try and keep this short and snappy. But I want to present today on the practical applications of our youth engagement app, iRAP, the active travel tool, and the route review tool in European cities in the Elaborator project, which is a little bit of a shopping list of things to get through. And to kind of give you the short version, if you like, we have several tools that have been developed, and all of them present different use cases and different applications of the iRAP methodology. And I think the point should be made that that it's really because there's so many diverse needs out there, so many potential applications, and there's a lot of great uses for the iRAP methodology to be used in conjunction with other things as well. But really what we're aiming for overall in the innovation area of iRAP is to improve the technological development. We want to embed safety into tools. The Phoebe project, which was presented just previously, really shows how that works. It's about taking tools that planners are using and getting safety really embedded in there. And the reason we want to do this is because we want to achieve the scale needed to achieve the road safety targets we've set for ourselves to meet. So very quickly, Youth Engagement App. It's a perception of safety tool, particularly for young people, and it uses an app in conjunction with the Star Rating for Schools tool, so you can really put perceptions, ask young people, where do you find things safe or not safe? How do you feel about this? And put that up against the Star Rating for Schools results. We've got iRAP, which is the bicycle and micromobility specific risk assessment. We've got an active travel tool that's being pioneered in the UK, and this is really around looking at the star rating results, but then trying to pull out things, and I'll show you a bit of a slide about it, about how that could be implicated for age and ability. What sort of facilities are we seeing across the network which are suitable for the elderly, for the disabled, for children, for people of different needs? And the route review tool, which is about customizing safety treatments. I also want to touch on the Elaborator project. So the Elaborator project is one of 3 urban design cluster projects being funded by the European Commission. And this is a really good example of quite a big project that the European Commission is funding. There's 36 partners in Elaborator, but there are also 2 other projects, the Amigos project and Reallocate. And across us all, there are lots and lots of cities across Europe through these projects that are getting funded to do mobility upgrades towards sustainable and safe mobility. And iRAP's role in this project is to evaluate these projects and demonstrate how iRAP's tools can be used to demonstrate their impact on long-term safety impacts. All of this happens through our innovation framework. And a number of you in our room, we have Chula University, FPZ, there are many, many of our innovation partners here, SWAV's another. Yes, I won't name you all because, or one way or another, most of you are involved in our innovation projects. And we've created this framework to guide the partnerships and the development of our tools for these purposes and to meet these needs. And so it's really about fostering this innovation and providing oversight and governance through our Global Technical Committee. So the Youth Engagement App, as I said, it's an application. It's really been designed to be quite engaging, colourful, good for kids to use, and really works with those school communities to get the school students involved in that process of assessing schools. The google.org project builds on a very big successful one that we've already done with the Botner Foundation, which used big data to screen across 3 cities in Vietnam to figure out which were the schools that most likely had safety issues. Then we used the Youth Engagement App in conjunction with Star Rating for Schools. Those triggered upgrades that were made by the local authorities, and then we were able to evaluate those. And so what the google.org project now is takes that and extrapolates it out for the whole country. We have the iRAP tool. Now this is an interesting one. iRAP includes 4 types of crash types. But if you ask cyclists what the biggest issue is for their safety, the perception of safety will be it's the cars on the road, the speed they're going. Makes it really hard. But we know actually that from the research done internationally, that 60 to 95% of people who end up in hospital because of a bicycle crash doesn't involve an impact with a vehicle. We also know that 5 to 30% of people who die from a bicycle crash also didn't involve a direct collision with a vehicle. So we've created this tool to really focus in not just on the risk of vehicle collisions, but also take in that holistic approach to bicycling safety. I won't spend too much time on this, but basically it just shows that the cycle wrap process is quite similar to the star rating process that many of you will be familiar with. You start with identifying your network, and often that starts with figuring out what your priorities are for improving cycling safety, focus in on that, and then you go through a very similar process. Here's just a couple of screenshots. This was a project done in Fayetteville in the US. You can see someone out there with an instrumented bicycle collecting data. This was the city themselves built their own. This went into a coding system by FPZ, so they have a coding tool for the cycle wrap attributes, and then the results get mapped. And so what we're really trying to do is fill that gap at the moment that's very, very present. So we've got sort of cycling safety audits where they are happening. You've got whole network level mapping happening with understanding where vehicle speeds and other risk factors are, but it's really trying to fill that gap in the middle through a good thorough risk assessment and then being able to suggest those safety treatments. And even though we only launched in Ljubljana last year at the VeloCity conference, we've now demonstrated the use of the cycle wrap model in 10 countries on over 1,000 kilometres of facilities. So the active travel tool I mentioned was one that was done in the UK, and we were really looking at trying to bring in the design principles for walking and cycling. And so it drew quite heavily on the local design guides. And so for those of you who are not familiar with level of traffic stress, it's one where the criteria is quite a high-level one. It was initially developed for bicycling, and it was really around what sort of facilities are suitable for what sort of user groups. And so you've got low-stress facilities, which are basically suitable for everyone, including children. And then you've got very high-stress facilities, which may be still used by people like food delivery drivers or sports cyclists, but they're not suitable for everyone. Call them the fast and the fearless. And then the other one is the route review tool. So this is really designed to support practitioners in applying their own expertise. So most of you will be familiar with the star rating methodology. From that, you get a fatality and serious injury estimation, and then you can create a safer road investment plan. And that will give you lots of guidance as to what to do to improve the safety of your road. What this tool is doing is completely revolutionizing the way that that information can be taken by road designers and then translated into their local road networks to suit their own design guides and design specifications and their preferences as well. So they can compare different treatments. And so this is the interface. You can see it's quite a good one. You've got the image of the road. You've got a very detailed risk worm there showing you the different risk. And then what you can do is use this to select and deselect countermeasures to create a refined treatment plan. And so what they do is once you select the new ones, they go back through the iRAP model and you get the updated results. As I mentioned before, Elaborator, sorry, I think I said 38 partners. Again, it's a part of a much bigger agenda, if you like, for the European Commission to really demonstrate how cities can move towards the sustainable urban mobility indicators. So we will be assessing measures across 12 cities. We'll be doing capacity building and training in a further 10 cities. But it's really part of this urban design cluster group of projects, and it's exciting to be part of that and to demonstrate iRAP's tools used in urban areas for sustainable transport in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, for a presentation full of inspiration for our designers. And I would like to ask James Bradford with his presentation about safer designing.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So what I wanted to speak to you today about was very much star rating for design. So what we've heard about so far is certainly the UN performance targets and the safety targets, and then more specifically for us in the room, the infrastructure ones. So you can see those in the orangey colour, so that's 3 and 4. Now, we've heard about that, making your roads 3-star or better and designing them right from the beginning. But the question is, how on earth am I going to do that? I'm managing my road. How do I know whether somebody's designed it to a 3-star or better standard? And that's where a number of years ago, through some funding the Global Road Safety Facility provided, we were actually able to design and develop the Star Rater for Design's web app. Now, that's gone through a number of people's hands, and they've utilised it around the world. And off the back of that, we've now done a re-engineering of that to actually extend its capabilities much further to help people use it in much more innovative ways and do much more clever things with it. So first of all, I want to take you through the process of where does it sit in the context of everything, of how iRAP is done. And so most of you will be aware that you go out and you do a road survey and you collect the road features from that, and that's the traditional way of doing things. And you upload that to Vida, and Vida, the free-to-air web application, does all of that processing for you, shows you what your policy targets are in terms of star ratings, certainly where you prioritise things in terms of your fatality estimations, and what the economics is behind that in terms of the Safe Roads investment plans. And as Monica just said, we've added on the route review tool. That takes it to the next stage of going, okay, well, maybe that's not relevant for my network. Maybe this countermeasure is. What's the economics behind there? And so what the Star Rater Designs does is it allows you to provide that feedback loop. Say, okay, now I've got a direction that I need to go with my investment plan. I've secured the funding. Now I'm actually going to do the design on my road. And so what this web application does is it actually helps you collect those road features in together, whether you've been the one in the CAD system designing the software, or whether you're the client afterwards going, okay, thank you for that design. Does it really meet the right standard that I've set you? And the other core piece in the puzzle that we'll hear a lot more about tomorrow, and I'm not going to talk about particularly today, is of course iRAP and seeing how can we use other data sources to actually fill that initial baseline assessment. And then likewise, can we utilise those potentially as part of design? And seeing how is that rate evolving? So the update to the star rating design tool, you start off by putting your geometry in there. So in the first generation of it, it focused a lot on manually drawing those road lines. So we've kept that kind of functionality in there. So you can actually go in there and say, okay, this is the centre line for my road, and manually put it in there. But what we've done is expanded it much further. So if you've got the data already in your baseline survey within Vida, you can actually import that in there, even with all of its road characteristics. So what you're doing is you're just changing the things you're actually upgrading in the road. Likewise, we've allowed it to import different mapping files, whether that's CareMail files or other similar ones, where if you've already got that geometry in another system, like a CAD system or a GIS system, you can actually import that in and start using that as your center point for it. And then after that, the software will automatically then divide that road up into 100-meter segments for you to then be able to actually code the different road features. Following on from that stage, you can actually put in the road designs. So in the original generation of it, what you would do is you'd upload your image files, and they would generally be snips or PDFs of your actual road designs, your cross sections, and your plan views. And then they would be attached to the different 100 meters, and you'd have to view them in isolation. So what we've done is we've taken that a step further. You can still do that functionality, but you can do much more clever things with them. So you can start to annotate them now, those images. Likewise, you can actually lay the images over the map. So if you had a plan view and you go and say, this intersection is exactly in this location, you can actually geo-reference it. So that actually allows you to actually interact with it a lot more in a sophisticated way of doing it. Following on from that, you can then code up the different road features. This is very similar to how it was done before. We've just tidied this process up a little bit to actually make it slightly more intuitive, and to also provides you with that context of how is that road changing down, so how are the road features changing as they go down the road. The other big thing we've changed in the web application is the flexibility. You can see here how I'm moving, when I was recording this, different windows around the screen. One thing we came across very clearly in the original version was it was one set layout. And that worked for certain people really, really well. But other people found that constrictive. And so what we wanted to do is actually almost give them the freedom. So your browser acts like your desk in front of you. And then you're laying out the different documents that you want to reference, whether it's the plan view, whether it's the cross-section for different things. Likewise, bringing up the street view imagery and putting them all on the table at one point if that's your style of working. The other big step forward we've made is previously, with the Star Designs web app, is you could then generate the star ratings from that. Now, the star ratings were only ever as good as the person who had recorded the road features. If somebody was generous with the way they were coding things, they'd get a really good star rating. Now, that's not particularly where we want to be, and we wanted to make sure we could actually put more robust processes in place. And so this is where we introduced much stronger quality assurance processes within it. So what this does is it's learned from the experience we had with star rating for schools, where there were actually accredited quality assurers being set up around the world who could then pick up different road design or different sections that have been coded and say, yes, that's correct or not. So that experience has been transferred into the Star Rating for Design's web app. So people can go through and go, well, why have you coded it like this? This doesn't look like it from this cross-section to me. You've been rather generous with calling your that 5 meters or whatnot. And so it allows that dialogue between the quality assurer and the person who's actually been doing the coding to actually get it to the point where we can actually certify that. And so you saw that earlier where that certificate was coming up with Rob's signature saying, this is 3-star or better, or whatever that star rating that road might be achieving. That's when we can get to that level of consistency and that level of understanding and accuracy that we can actually be certifying roads and saying, yes, this has actually been done to the right level of standard. And we can start celebrating that around the world. It's so often seeing that photo with the minister in New Zealand ribbon cutting a road and celebrating the safety of it. And there's me going, well, safety's not particularly ever been, especially road safety, a particularly sexy topic, let alone one that a politician is willing to try and actually use to promote themselves. But actually, as soon as you start putting a tool around it like this, like Star Rating for Designs, it starts becoming something you can celebrate and something that can actually be communicated to the public much more widely and much more easily. So, thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, James, for a very interesting presentation. This really can change how we do road safety impact assessment and probably also road safety audits and inspections. And now I would like to ask our auditorium if you have any questions for our speakers. If no, I would like to ask Samar for the summary of today. Thank you.
Okay, I will be quick because we're all tired and we want to have a little bit of rest. So what I took from this afternoon is that this was an amazing session, 2 amazing sessions with a lot to learn. So the question that is asked, where we are and where's the potential? From what we heard, we are at a major moment where we need to have big decisions made to reach 2030. And if I can say, this is the only place that I would say we should press on the accelerator to 2030. We really need to reach our goal. We heard from Greg Smith a very powerful message about data that is showing us how road trauma, how severe injuries are really a bigger problem than what we think it is. So where's the potential? From what I heard from all the presenters today, we have three key messages. The potential is in the power of partnership. A lot of the presenters were talking about partnerships. Partnerships at the local level, at the national level, like we heard for Australia, local level, international. We heard the example of the 10-step in Tanzania, where local partnership combined with international partnership and organization are starting to make a really big difference. Partnership with the private sector. We listened to the private sector representative talking how important it is for them to be part of this model. So all of this is one of the points that was discussed today. The second is where's the potential? The potential in innovation. Innovation is definitely the theme of this workshop, but it's also a big potential for what's coming next. Innovation means embedding road safety in everything, in innovative technologies that are looking at the transport model in absolute. They have to embed road safety, as we heard today in their development. Being innovative in road maintenance, because maintenance is important. We don't want to create new roads. We want to maintain the roads and having them be safe with new ideas. Technologies are very important. We heard from ASOM, we heard from iRAP representatives about the tools that have been developed, the technologies that is put in the transport model into simulating the transport model, but also innovation does not only mean technologies. I heard from Paul that innovation is also creativity, how we have low-cost measures being deployed in cities, and with a very creative approach, it is really an innovative idea that brings a lot of potential for the future. And third point, last but not least, we heard from PR, from iRAP, that sharing knowledge is really a key point. Sharing knowledge and capacity building is very important, specifically for low and middle income countries, where the majority of fatal and serious injury crashes are happening, and where there is a need for this capacity building, for this knowledge that has been developed into all these innovation products. So that's what I have seen from today's presentation. The presenters did an amazing job. I hope you all agree with me. And tomorrow we have the second part of this workshop. I hope I will see you all also tomorrow. It will start at 9:30, right, Judy? So 9:30, the morning session is the continuity of this workshop. So thank you very much, and I'll see you later.